Stocks our strategists feel are poised to deliver positive returns are featured now in their top stock picks of the week.
Welcome to another edition of Top Stock Picks. I am Brian Boland. I'm the aggressive growth stock strategist here at Zacks, and I have a top stock pick for this week. It's a company that's reporting earnings on February 12th before the market opens. So that's important. It's before the market opens. So look for it for a big move that day. The name of the stock is Nebius Group. Nebius Group, NV, and that designates that it is not from this country. It's an ADR. So NBIS is the ticker. It's a Zacks rank number 3, as most big stocks are just before they report earnings, because the window for earnings estimate revisions is only 60 days. And on these big stocks, the analysts will move their numbers just after the earnings report and really not too much just in front of it. So that's why we're at a 3 with a hold. This stock has Fs for growth and value, just as I used to get on my report card when I was in school. And they're calling this internet software and services. This is really an AI infrastructure company with several other great investments, including Avride, which is an autonomous vehicle ride share. I was actually in one of those when I was in Dallas not too long ago. And I think most of you know I've owned a Tesla for about 6 years now, maybe a little over. And I can compare the difference between the Tesla autonomous driving versus the Avride. And the Avride was much more aggressive when it needed to be. Tesla was much more about safety and going slow and being very cautious. Avride had a very phenomenal system for the amount of time that it's been on the road. And you think about that. All right, so this is a $23 billion market cap company, and we can see that right here. And again, we're also pointing out the earnings before the market opens on the 12th. So let's take a look at some of the numbers. So there's our quick chart. You see the stock popped up to just around 10, almost 110, came back in this most recent drawdown correction, but a quick snapback. And that, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the company is reporting earnings this week. So a lot of investors say, you know what, I better get some of this down here while I can, because we see 3 months ago, we did see a 25% earnings surprise. I will tell you the stock dipped 7% on the day the day of the report. So there was a 7% decline there, but the previous 2 reports saw the stock jump 18%. So I'm looking for one of those big positive moves like that, and I'll talk just a little bit more about that in the future. But let's look at our numbers. All right, Zacks didn't really get some estimates there. There was an estimate here, but there was no earnings estimate, so we got an NA. We only have one quarter where there was a Zacks estimate, and they beat it handily by 25%. Let's take a look at the estimate revisions since that time. So we've seen this quarter move from a loss of 58 cents up to a loss of 44 cents. Next quarter going from a loss of 83 cents to a loss of 65. For the full year 2025, a loss of $1.78 to a loss of $1.61. And, you know, next year, this current year that we are in, 2026, we're going to call it next year, it's increased from a loss of $1.96 to a loss of $1.66, but that implies earnings contraction. Something you don't want to see, but pretty sure we will get a resolution to that when guidance for the full year comes out for this. All right, so why is Brian Boland interested in this stock? And the story is right here. This current year, we're looking for $532 million on the top line, and that is a big contraction of 90%. I don't know that is totally true, but we'll see. Next year, this year, we're looking for $3.1 billion, so a 488% increase. And that number is slated to move higher as well. Part of that was due to the Microsoft deal, which was announced back in September or so, and saw the stock pop 40% and then run another 30% plus to move up to about $140. I think there's a good chance the stock runs back up there. I'll tell you a little inside deep research that I did on that. So price to book for these AI infrastructure stocks, that's very low at 4.8 times. The price to sales is astronomically high here, but that's temporary because we all know that there's $18 billion coming in from Microsoft over the next few years. And there's going to be another Microsoft style deal possibly even bigger. Definitely be even bigger. Definitely. I'm going to say that right now. Definitely bigger. Our margins are improving, but they're negative. But we can see there's been good growth, and it's going to continue. Let's take a look at our EPS stock and price consensus. Okay, so stock really pops right here. This is that Microsoft deal. Takes it all the way up, tests 140, comes all the way back in November, declines a little bit. We popped up, we ran down in the most recent drawdown, and now we're ready for the races. Earnings estimates really haven't shown too much here because they're trying to get their arms around this idea of what is going to happen. Now, the company had a data center, and the idea here for this data center is that they basically leasing out to Microsoft at 316 megawatt capacity. And that's how they're judging data centers these days, by how much energy they can consume. Now, they are looking at building another one, and they basically have all the approvals set up for a data center in Independence City, Missouri. This one is going to be for 800 megawatts, and you don't have to be a genius to figure out that that's almost 3 times the size of the Microsoft deal data center that's in New Jersey. So if you're going to have a data center that's coming online soon, and after the market popped the stock for 40%, and now you're going to have 3 times the size of that, maybe even split it up, maybe you have 3 different things. Who knows what they're going to do, but they're going to do something. It's going to come about. So down the road, I expect a gigantic swing for this stock. That's why I love this stock here. That's why I think today is a great day to get into this one before the earnings announcement. I believe this is a great stock for the long term. All right, that's Nebius. It's NBIS. Let me hand it off to one of my colleagues here at Zacks for their top stock pick of the week.
Brian, my top pick for the week is Bloom Energy, symbol BE. And this is a great story about Wall Street underestimating this stock. And we've made some big money on it, and we hope to continue to do so. All right, we're looking at the price chart here since the summer. And I want to point out a couple things. So in early October, right around here, I did the video for this week's top stock picks on Bloom Energy. So if you listen to me, if you believed me, you had a chance to get in here under 90 before this big pop, and it's been volatile, and I'll explain that. But I was buying in the low 70s, and then I bought this dip at 67, which was nice. So this was Monday. I did my video here. I'll show you. So did the top stock picks video on October 6th, published October 7th, and so you had some time to get in there. I also did that same week. I wrote a print article, Bull of the Day on Bloom Energy, explaining my thesis. And I also, if you find this article, it also has the video link. Let's see. Yeah, there it is right there. So if you just find this article, and the simplest way to do it is just anytime you're on Zacks.com, the cursor defaults into the quote box up here in the upper right corner. So if you just put BE and Bull, you'll probably find this article from October 8th. And this was, I had bought the stock in late September. And so I was just, learning about their technology, solid oxide fuel cells. So basically they take hydrogen and convert it into electricity with no combustion and no emissions. And they're extremely portable. You can put them on site. You can order one and have it on site in 90 days. So this is a great solution for data centers. And I bought it because Oracle, when I found out that Oracle was a partner in August, that's when I got really interested in September. And this little comparison I made, it may not be apples to apples, but to me, it stood out that I looked at Generac, which makes generators, and their industrial generators are pretty popular for lots of different uses on construction sites and factories and, temporary situations where they want backup power. Generac doubled sales in 2 years from late 2020 to 2022 to 4.6 billion. And with estimates for Bloom at only 2 billion, I saw these are going to be in demand and they could easily double sales. Well, guess what? They're on the path to that. So if you find this article, you'll see I talk about the Oracle prophecy when Larry Ellison said a year ago, September at earnings, he said, we have 162 data centers. We'd like to have 1,000 or 2,000 more. Now, the market hates on Oracle because they don't have free cash flow to invest. They're borrowing money to do this build out, but it's still part of the build out. And Oracle will be using Bloom solid oxide fuel cells. So that's a good article just to go back and get some of the basics, because things start to pile on here in terms of, why did Bloom pop over 26%, and ended up rallying like 40% in mid-October, October 13th. Well, let's see. Let's see where I have this. Oh, I'm going to go to my blog here. I have a blog on school where I just post stuff all day, and you can find that if you join me in Taser. So let's go to my October piece. This would have been on October 13th. Bloom goes boom. Why? Because they got a new partner, Brookfield. If you know anything about the Brookfield Asset Management is now called Brookfield Corporation. I think there's still a stock symbol for BAM, but BN is Brookfield Corporation now. They have 1 trillion assets under management. They own half of Westinghouse, which is for nuclear, right? But they're also big investors in data centers, whether they're helping build them or buying them and leasing them. And they know that energy is a key part of the equation. So until the small modular reactors are built by Westinghouse or whoever, they know that the Bloom energy boxes are just a key immediate solution, right? I said they could be deployed in 90 days. So they formed a $5 billion partnership, Bloom and Brookfield, to build infrastructure. So to me, that was, this is fantastic. This is exactly what I want to hear. And I already had a 160 price target based on my Generac estimates. So, things are just taking off. So let's look at Bloom Technology real quick. You can go to the site and learn more about it. They explain solid oxide fuel cells. There's a look at a bunch of them. I don't know if this is a real picture, but you could obviously put them together. Picture that are like the size of, they vary in sizes, but picture they could be as big as a giant Generac generator for industrial use. So they got a video here explaining how the Bloom energy server works to convert hydrogen to electricity, more explanations of how fuel cells work without combustion or emissions. So that's I find that pretty interesting. Always on microgrids, right? You can be off the grid. You can build a microgrid, or you can have it be your primary power. So, a lot of flexibility and scaling ability from a small factory to a giant 1 gigawatt data center. More about the technology here. So definitely worth taking a look there. Let's see. Let's go back to the chart and see where else Bloom is popping. Now, I took some profits, somewhere in here. Stock was, getting pretty choppy and volatile. And the reason why is because there were so many bears on the street. I mentioned the bears, both Bank of America and Jefferies. When Bloom is popping here above $100, they were reiterating their price targets in the 30s, and they didn't have maybe one of them had a sell rating. Another was just neutral, but they were just stubborn bears. They didn't see the growth here the way that I did in October. And so that's why the stock made a couple trips down to 75 here during the volatility of both November and December. And those were great buying opportunities. And then they're sort of reluctantly raising their price targets. So when you throw in BofA and Jefferies with these $30 price targets or $39 price targets, it made the average price target on Wall Street like below 100, and it would slowly creep up. Okay, and then we're getting more good news in November. We got a new partner, and that is, get this lined up here, American Electric Power, big utility, AEP. They wanted to ink a deal with Bloom. They did their first one in November. I believe they've upgraded it, and it's initially in November it was for 100 megawatts of fuel cells. That's a lot of these fuel cells. And it could be worth $2.5 billion to Bloom. So, now more analysts are paying attention and raising estimates, raising price targets. So that's what we've been enjoying. Let's see here. What I want to show you. Well, I'll show you earnings in a second. Let me show you. We've been taking some profits on the way up. This is my TASER portfolio. Stands for Technical Analysis and Zach's Rank. I'm going to show you here. So this year, it's been our biggest place to take profits. There's Bloom Energy. I'll highlight it here. We sold the stuff we bought at 67. We sold it around 150, as you can see right there, for 123% gains. And then we did it again with another chunk that I bought at 101 because I'm buying on the way up. Sometimes I've sold at 110, 125, and then I buy any dips I can. I missed those dips at 75, but I was telling my people who follow me, my subscribers and my members, this looks like a good place to buy under 80. Well, I wish I hadn't sold at 150 because then it went to 175 because analysts are starting to catch on. The street's starting to catch on. And you're seeing bigger investors. And I can't wait till the end of this week. We're going to get all the 13 Fs from the SEC and see who was buying in Q4. That's going to be exciting. But what else did I want to say? Oh, during last week's little corrective action, I jumped back in. I bought at 140. So I don't feel so bad selling it at around 150, 149 because we bought again at 140. So let's go to recent earnings. So this is a long thread I have that started in October, but I just keep adding to it because Bloom keeps going boom. And so I'm going to scroll down here and I will find last week's earnings for Bloom, at least the result. Yeah, so here's the highlights. Revenue, 777, and that was like 19%. That was a 19% beat, 36% year over year growth, 19% beat. Earnings was like a 40% beat, I think. Yeah, 30 versus 45, right? And then the backlog, that's what I love to see. Where are we going? Backlog, $6 billion, up 2.5 times year over year. So just fantastic numbers. Some analysts are responding. Let's see if I can find, this is a good follow on X, Ben Palladian, I think is how you say his name. He's talking about, so he says, Bloom dropped a bombshell on their earnings call. Their fuel cells now power absorption chillers using waste heat, cutting data center electricity by 20%. That's huge. And it's 800 volt, no grid, free cooling, no hydrofluorocarbons, obviously. And so power and cooling from one platform. We'll revisit him. So I've got a lot of cool stuff in here. If you come over to school and find my blog, it's called AI Stock Investing. Let's see. Oh, yeah, here's Morgan Stanley. This is the new street high target, 184. Actually, there's a small brokerage out of China or a small research firm called China Renaissance, which after this, they raised their price target to 207. But I don't know much about them. I don't know how credible they are. They also raised GE Vernova to their price target to like over 1,000, which makes sense too, because GE Vernova is making the natural gas turbines. Caterpillar makes them too, but Elon Musk is using those at his Colossus data centers in Memphis. He's been using them for 18 months because he just needs power now. All right, what else do I share? Oh, here's another one from Ben Palladian. He says, Bank of America has a $39 target on BE. Bloom just filed permits for 900 megawatts of fuel cells at Crusoe AI data center. Brookfield committed $5 billion. AEP, $2.5 billion. He goes, someone is catastrophically wrong. Love that. All right, what else do I want to show you here? Barron's did a big story on Bloom and GEV on February 6th. I had something else in here I wanted to show you. JP Morgan goes to 166 on their price target. BMO Capital is sort of neutral or market perform at 149. And here's a nice, so look what this bear does. This is Mizuho. I call them, a reluctant bull, a bear reluctantly raising their target from 89 to 110. I don't think we're going to see 110 again anytime soon. So we'll look at the estimates. And BTIG raised to 166 from 145. So let's go to the estimates. The detailed estimates page on Zacks.com is one of my favorite places. It's where I go to see, like, I love price to sales for valuation. So I want to know, what's the market cap? When I told you to buy it in October, we were at 20 billion. Now the market cap's 36 billion. And so are the sales rising fast enough to justify a valuation? So if we look at this year's sales, Bloom is once again trading over 10 times sales. Is that rich? Well, those sales are growing at 58%. How about next year? Oh, gee, they're analyst estimates among only four analysts reporting for this consensus on Zacks, over $5.25 billion. So now we're back under 10 times sales. But here's the kicker: those sales are growing at 64%. And that's just now, that's just projected now. I continue to think that these Bloom solid oxide fuel cells are going to fly off the shelf, and you're going to see estimates go up for this year and next year easily. Like this 3.2 billion, this is going to be $4 billion probably by June. And what about profits? Yeah, they're clipping along. So as they ramp this and they can scale to turn that margin dial, you're looking at 180% profit growth into next year when they cross $2.50. All right, so let me see. So let's take a look at where price targets are now. This is always fun to look at. Right there on more research. This left-hand menu over here, when you pull up any stock symbol, you're going to get this left-hand menu, the overview, news, analyst reports, detailed earnings estimates. That's my favorite page. And then you can get fundamentals, but price target and forecast is fun too. I mean, it's you don't base a buying decision on this, but it's fun to look at. Okay, so now the average price target for Bloom has risen from, like, 2 months ago, it was still 110, and now it's 138. And, so if you listen to the bears on Wall Street, oh, it's a sell. There's 207, so China Renaissance got included there. And this is among 21 analysts that we've collected price targets for. Listen, I'm a buyer at 140, and my old price target was 160. My new price target is now 200 and that's a 12 to 18 month price target. Will probably be at 200 by the fall. All right, let me see if there's anything else I wanted to show you. We looked at the company website. We looked at the chart plenty, estimates. Remember where you can find this story. And actually, I'm going to write another bull of the day, just like I did in October. I did a video on Monday, and then I wrote the bull of the day on Wednesday. I'm going to do that this week. So I'm actually filming this on Tuesday, February 10th. You're probably watching this on Wednesday. I'll be writing another article to update all this. And so you can follow along, get a free trial for Taser. You can watch me trade it, and we'll keep enjoying this very specific niche in the AI data center build out. Everybody's talking about nuclear, but those nuclear plants aren't even going to be ready to go for 5 years. Whereas right now, you could put a Bloom Energy box on site and have reliable power off grid. All right. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining us for another edition of this week's Top Stock Picks. For more Zacks research and lots of freebies, go to Zacks.com/promo and see what we've got there for you. See you next week.